It's truly an honor for me to be here tonight, not only to congratulate all the award winners that are yet to be presented, but to present this next award, which we consider to be our initial one. It was kind of a no-brainer on where we went as far as the board was concerned direction-wise with this particular award that we're presenting to Mr. Jerry Lucas here tonight. I know that I was sitting at table 5. A group from Middletown moved the numbers. They said we had to be at table 13 because that was Lucas's high school number. And so they flipped the table numbers on me. But that just shows you the respect that he had. A native of Middletown, Ohio. Many of you have had the opportunity to watch this guy during his career. There are some in this audience that probably never saw this man play. And it's truly their loss for that situation. Probably the finest high school basketball player in the history of our state was Jerry Lucas. He won his first 76 straight high school basketball games for Middletown Middies, losing in the first game in his career in the semifinals of the state tournament his senior year. Luke let us know earlier tonight that actually the 76 he won there, he had actually, through grade school and junior high, won 151 straight games before that evening. And he's pretty good on math, so we don't question him when he comes to the numbers. But amazingly so, Luke, as a 15-year-old sophomore, scored 53 points in the state tournament in a single game, which is still the record today, this many years later. He also had games of 46 and 44 points in his runs to the state tournament. Just phenomenal numbers. The first time I had a chance to watch Jerry Lucas play live, I was in junior high, and Bud Olson, who's going to be honored here tonight, was a member of the Ohio All-Stars, and they were playing the Kentucky All-Stars in a high school basketball game. And the Olson family was kind enough to take me along. We all lived in the same neighborhood, and Bud's late brother John is actually in my class, and so we were best of friends and spent a lot of time. The game was played in southern Ohio. There was a jump ball situation, and this is back in the day where a held ball, you actually went to the free throw line as opposed to, or a jump ball situation as opposed to the alternating possession. Lucas was jumping against a guy named Harry Todd that went on to Western Kentucky. He was 6'8" or 6'9". Bud Olson was waiting for the ball in the inside circle and noticed that the tap was kind of high. Lucas scored on the play. He tapped it in from the free throw line over a guy 6'9". Now, he had never tried that before in his career, but he thought he would just give it a stab. He hoped it was legal, and it was. 2 more for Luke. He's 1 for 1 in that category. So after the phenomenal high school career, straight-A student, Mr. Everything, recruited by everybody, Lucas went on to Ohio State, where the greatness just continued. His career numbers are staggering. He never really cared about scoring, but his career average was over 24 points a game, 17-plus rebounds per game for his entire career, and shot over 62% from the floor. Jerry quickly established himself as the best player in the Big Ten. He was the MVP all 3 years. Ohio State won outright Big Ten championships all 3 years, and they went to the national finals all 3 years, to the championship game, winning it all in 1960. That same year, Luke, as a sophomore in college, was a center on the Olympic team that went to Rome. And he played with a couple guards that kind of fuzzy. I think you carried the team, but wasn't it Oscar Robertson, Jerry West? They were decent players. But obviously those guys, probably the best amateur team ever assembled, and they won the gold medal. Lucas was College Player of the Year numerous times, MVP of the Big Ten 3 times. That's a record. And also made the all-century team picked by the NCAA of their starting 5 of all time, and Jerry Lucas is on it. Without question, the greatest player still to this day that ever played in the Big Ten. Jerry went on in a professional career, lasted 11 years, became the greatest non-center rebounder in the history of the NBA. Had 40 rebounds in a single game. Only 2 players in the history of the NBA have ever had seasons where they averaged 20 points and 20 rebounds. Wilt Chamberlain is one, Jerry Lucas is the other. 3 times he was first team All-NBA, 7 times to the All-Star game, MVP of the All-Star Game, Rookie of the Year. You just can't think of anything in the world of basketball that he hasn't accomplished. And in 1973, after being mainly with the Cincinnati Royals, he had a stint with the San Francisco Warriors and then was traded to the New York Knicks. And in 1973, Jerry won an NBA championship, making him the first player in the history of basketball that won a state high school championship, a national college championship, an Olympic gold medal, and an NBA championship, giving credit not only to him, his city of Middletown, but the entire state of Ohio. It's quite remarkable what this man has done. And I can't think of anyone more deserving of this award. And Jerry, before I get you up here, I have to share a story. I played sometime after Jerry Lucas, obviously, but at Ohio State, and we were playing at Michigan State in the old Jennison Fieldhouse where they had that elevated floor. And Lucas, in his career, had hung 48 on him up there, which is his personal best in college. The game started. I jumped center, got the tap, tapped it to a forward. He threw it to a guard that was streaking down the court. He laid it up and in, and I just followed up the play. I'll never forget this fan from Michigan State came up from the end of the court to the elevated court, and the game was 5 seconds old. He said, "I'll tell you one thing, Hoskett, you're no Jerry Lucas." So I was certainly glad he shared that with me. It's something I had realized my entire life, but that was 5 or 6 years after Jerry had been up there. But I can tell you, it's been 50 years since he played, and believe me, there still is no other Jerry Lucas. He's the one and only. So Luke, if you'd come forward, and if we can get the trophy. Jim Hamilton with the award. Nothing but class for the state of Ohio for his contributions to basketball and to our state, the great Jerry Lucas.
Thank you so very, very much. And every time I stand up to address an audience, it's quite obvious, and it happens every time I stand up that my mind kind of filters back to the very first time I ever addressed an audience. I had then just graduated from Ohio State, and I was asked to do a great deal of speaking. And the first speech I ever gave was at a small school here in Ohio, an all-sports banquet held in a gymnasium with folding tables and normal things you might expect to see at a function like that. The awards had been presented, my speech was finished, and the people were filtering out of the small gymnasium where we had met. I looked at the side, I saw a young boy. He broke away from his mother. He rushed toward me. He looked a little nervous and excited, I suppose, about meeting and talking to somebody he had faithfully watched play basketball on television for a number of years. And very nervously, these were the first words that came out of his mouth. He said, "Mr. Lucas, I've enjoyed your basketball very, very much over the past few years, but that speech you gave tonight's the worst speech I've ever heard in my life." Now, the young boy's mother heard what he had said, so she rushed to me very, very apologetically. And she said, "Oh, Mr. Lucas, I am so very, very sorry for what my son has said. Please pay no attention to him. He only repeats what he hears." And that's kind of where my life has come to teach people how to repeat things they see, they hear, they read, to improve their abilities to learn and remember. And I know I could ask the question, how many of you really think you have a bad memory? And probably every hand in here would go up, but it's not true. God has gifted all of us with some remarkable learning abilities. It's been my joy over the past 40 years to share those with people in outstanding and unique ways. You know, I've been involved in memory training practically my entire life. It started as a young boy in Middletown, and many of my friends from Middletown are here tonight. We all have very active minds as young people, get bored easily and want to do things. And I began to invent all sorts of mental games as a boy to keep my mind occupied in boring times, especially in long automobile trips having nothing to do. I'm sure many of you got bored at those times too. The first mental game I ever invented happened on a long vacation trip, and I saw a word on a billboard, and just to have something to do, I thought, wonder what that word would look like if mentally I would pluck the letters out of the word, rearrange in my mind, and put them in alphabetical order. I don't know why. It just seemed like something to do. So with my little grade school mind, I rearranged those letters, got them in alphabetical order. It was fun. I enjoyed it. So another word on a billboard and did it with it, another. It was so much fun, I began to do it with every word I ever saw until I got to the point where I could spell faster alphabetically than anybody else I knew could regularly. Little demonstration, you'll understand it better. The word cat is obviously spelled C-A-T, but alphabetically it is spelled A-C-T. That is, A comes before C and C before T in the alphabet, not backwards but alphabetically. You're an audience, A-C-D-E-E-I-N-U, microphone, C-E-H-I-M-N-O-P-E-R, ceiling, C-E-G-I-L-N, chandelier, A-C-D-E-E-H-I-L-N-R, basketball, A-B-B-E-K-L-L-S-T. I'd like to tell you about that particular ability I have, ladies and gentlemen. It's absolutely useless. Won't do a thing for you, so why in the world do I tell you about it? And you certainly don't have to be able to spell alphabetically to improve your ability to learn. Well, I tell you about it simply because that's the kind of mind God gave me, a very active, gymnastic, inquisitive, analytical type mind that would in time lead me to create today what is known as the Lucas Learning System, with which I truly have been able to impact so many people's lives in the past, but the future is what's so important to me and some things that are going to happen. I realized as a young boy something about learning, because I thought a lot about learning. My mind was always active, and when I got to school, I began to think about how we learned prior to going to school and after entering school, and I learned a principle that changed my life forever. No child ever has a problem learning prior to going to school because we learn in a normal, natural, God-given way. We can't read, don't even know the alphabet, so how do we learn? We learn as our parents point to and identify tangible objects in the environment about us. They may say, look at this thing, this is a chair, this is a table, this is a cat, this is a dog. And in that process, in my opinion, miracle after miracle after miracle is occurring in each and every one of our lives. You may tend to agree with me in a moment. Because God has innately and uniquely implanted something in our brain that's remarkable. Every tangible object that we've seen and identified has been registered in our mind, never to be forgotten. Let me repeat those words again, never to be forgotten. Because every time we think of a tangible object, an image of it appears in our mind, and we can't keep it from happening. I'm going to prove that to you in just a moment by asking you not to do something. You know, not doing something's very easy, isn't it? I have quite a few friends, by the way, who are pretty gifted with that particular skill. Sometimes doing something is hard, but not doing something is very easy. So if my request to you might be, please do not stand up, just stay seated, just don't do it. I'm going to ask you not to do something even easier than that to prove this point. None of you will not be able to do it, as you will see. Here's a simple request, folks. Please do not see a zebra in your mind. Please do not see a zebra. It's possible, absolutely impossible. You can't think of any tangible object you've seen and identified without the image appearing in your mind. If I say giraffe, there it is. If I say barn, there it is. It is impossible to forget tangible objects we've seen and identified. Because of this gift, it's been proven by educators that children learn far, far more the first 5 years of their lives than they ever do the rest of their lives. Think about that. That's an astounding statement. Children learn more in a 3.5-year period than they will if they live to be 100 years old. There's a reason. I discovered that reason. My life has been devoted to that. After entering school, we can no longer use this remarkable gift that God's given us because everything we're called upon to learn has no identity. It's ink on a page, letters, numbers, words, and symbols rearranged in different patterns. Nothing has an identity. For instance, what if a pronoun ran up here and stood right next to me on this platform? How many of you could point to it and say, well, there's a pronoun. I haven't seen one of those things in 3 or 4 days. Well, I thought to myself as a young boy in Middletown, Ohio, in Sherman Grade School, what if? What if? What if I could give an identity to all this ink on a page? Learning would be automatic. I set out to accomplish that. That's what the Lucas Learning System is all about, and it's remarkable. It's incredible how easy learning is. It's practically automatic. And I've devoted my life to it. That's what I've put my life to. I've turned down the opportunity to do so many other things because this is what God called me to do with my life, and I've been obedient to that calling in my life. And because of that calling, there's no doubt it's going to impact the educational system in America in an incredible, unbelievable way. I have spent 40 years giving identities to all of that information, and now learning is so easy. In the future, you will see a website that will be available probably in a year and a half I've become known as Dr. Memory. The website will be Dr. M's Universe. It's going to be a remarkable place, remarkable. There will be hundreds of planets, learning planets of all kind, an alphabet planet, reading planet, writing planet, spelling planet, grammar and punctuation planet, math planet, Spanish planet, music planet, etc. Many other planets to help kids with food and money and so many other things that they need to learn. Hundreds of characters that I've created. When kids learn about a vowel, I have an owl that wears a V-neck sweater, a vowel that does the teaching. When they learn about a syllable, a silly bull does the teaching. So there's music and games. There will be about 100 video games, and children will learn automatic. It's going to be very, very exciting. And that's been the purpose of my life, and that's what's driven me and continues to drive me every day. I still work 12 to 15 hours every day of my life. I love what I do. I can't wait to get up every morning to apply myself to my calling and what God's called me to do. And the purpose of my life, and I believe it should be the purposes of many of our lives, is to make a difference. 38 years ago, I retired from basketball early. I had 3 years left on my contract with the New York Knicks. When I retired, I called the New York Knicks office the next day that God called me to a ministry and said, I'm through. I will never play basketball again. I haven't played a basketball game since, and I've devoted my life to what my life's calling is, and it's exciting, folks. You're going to be so excited, and America will be so excited when they discover that children can learn everything they need to learn automatically, and they can never forget it. And aren't those great words? Can never forget it. It's remarkable. I thank you for the opportunity of being here tonight. I'm very honored and blessed to be the first recipient of this award. I hope that my efforts in the future will bear fruit for this award and other things that the Lord's called me to do. I want to congratulate all of those who will be inducted tonight. Of course, Bud Olson, one of the inductees, was a teammate of mine for many years. I've known Bud since 1958. We played on some high school all-star teams together, and it's been a joy for me to share time with him throughout the years. Bucky Bockhorn, one of my teammates with the Cincinnati Royals, is here tonight. Hadn't seen him in many years. Such a joy. And so many other people I saw here tonight from my hometown and other places that I haven't seen in many years. I appreciate, as I said, the opportunity to be here. Thank you so much for this honor. I hope I can do it justice in the future and do something that will help our country in some remarkable ways. God bless you and thank you.